The House of Quiet Echoes. Jonas had not planned to return to the house. He had sworn to himself years ago that he would never set foot in that place again. Yet here he was, standing in front of the old wooden door, his hand resting on the tarnished brass handle. The house stood in silence, wrapped in the heavy scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. It had been abandoned for years, but to Jonas it was alive, whispering, waiting. The letter had arrived a week ago. No return address, no name, just a few words written in small, careful handwriting. Come back. You must remember. Jonas had read the note a dozen times before he packed his bag and drove 3 hours through empty roads to reach this forgotten corner of the world. The house belonged to his family once. His childhood had been spent in its dimly lit rooms, beneath its high ceilings that always seemed too vast, too hollow. But it was not the past that unsettled him now. It was the feeling that something still lingered inside. As he stepped through the doorway, the scent of old wood and dust wrapped around him like an old, familiar coat. The wooden floors creaked under his weight. The air felt thick, pressing against his skin. He ran his fingers along the wall, where the peeling wallpaper curled like dried leaves. The silence was absolute. Jonas moved deeper into the house, passing the empty fireplace, the worn-out armchair his mother once sat in. He paused at the staircase, staring at the shadows pooling at the top. Something was wrong. He felt it in his bones, in the slow tightening of his breath. The house was waiting for him. And then from somewhere above, he heard it, a faint rhythmic tapping. Slow, steady, a sound that did not belong in an empty house. Jonas swallowed. He should turn back, leave, drive away, and never return. But his feet did not move. The letter had said he must remember. He exhaled and placed his foot on the first step, and then the second. The tapping did not stop. Jonas climbed higher, stepping into the unknown. Jonas' heartbeat matched the rhythm of the tapping. He climbed each step carefully, his breath slow, his fingers brushing against the wooden railing. The house smelled of dust and old memories, things long buried, now stirring. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched before him, darker than he remembered. The doors on either side were shut, their chipped white paint flaking onto the floor. The tapping was louder now, coming from the last door at the end of the hall. He hesitated. That room. Jonas had not stepped inside it since he was a child. His mother had always kept it locked. She said it was a place for forgotten things, things that should not be touched, not be remembered. But now, something inside was calling him back. His hand trembled as he reached for the doorknob. Cold metal met his palm. He turned it slowly. The door creaked open, revealing a dim, dust-filled room. Inside, the air was heavy, stale. A small wooden desk sat against the far wall, a single chair pulled out as if someone had been sitting there only moments ago. The window was cracked, letting in a thin whisper of wind. But Jonas' eyes locked onto the only thing that did not belong, the typewriter. It sat in the center of the desk, black and gleaming despite the dust covering everything else. And the tapping. It was the sound of a key pressed down again and again. Jonas took a step closer, his breath tight in his chest. The paper inside the typewriter was yellowed, old. A single sentence had been typed across it. You must remember. The room felt smaller, closing in. Jonas swallowed, his throat dry. He had told himself for years that he had forgotten, that the past could not reach him anymore. But the house had other plans. And deep inside, Jonas knew this was only the beginning. Jonas stared at the words on the paper. His fingers tingled, his mind fighting against the rising tide of memories. You must remember. Remember what? The walls of the room seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting in slow, steady waves. The past had a way of staying hidden until it didn't. And now, something was pushing it forward, demanding to be seen. His fingers brushed the edges of the paper. It was fragile, delicate, like it would crumble if he pressed too hard. He pulled it from the typewriter and turned it over. Nothing. The silence in the room deepened. Jonas exhaled and turned back to the desk. The drawer beneath the typewriter was slightly open, an invitation. He hesitated, then slid it out further. Inside, a small stack of papers lay untouched. But beneath them, something else, something colder. He reached in and pulled it out. A key. Old silver, rusted at the edges. His mind spun. There was only one door in this house that had ever been locked with a key like this. The basement. Jonas turned toward the hallway. His legs felt heavy as he walked, the wooden floor creaking beneath him. The air grew colder with each step, wrapping around him like unseen fingers. At the top of the basement stairs, he stopped. The door was still there, untouched, its heavy wooden frame marked with scratches near the keyhole. Had he made those scratches? The memory was faint, blurred, just out of reach. His hand tightened around the key. There were things in this house that had been buried, locked away. But now the door was waiting, and Jonas had no choice but to open it. Jonas held the key between his fingers, feeling its weight, its coldness. The basement door loomed before him, silent and patient. He had avoided this door for years. Now, something inside him whispered that it was time. He slid the key into the lock. A deep metallic click. The door creaked open. A rush of cold air swept over him, carrying a damp, musty smell. The darkness below stretched endlessly. He hesitated. His breath was steady, but his heartbeat was not. The first step groaned under his weight, then the second. Each one sent a ripple of unease through his chest. At the bottom, the air felt heavier. The dim light from upstairs barely reached this far. He fumbled along the wall, his fingers grazing over rough, cold stone. Then, something shifted in the dark. Jonas froze. He wasn't alone. A shadow stretched across the floor, moving even though there was no light source to cast it. His skin prickled. His body screamed at him to run, but his feet remained rooted. His eyes adjusted, scanning the basement. Shelves lined the walls, filled with forgotten boxes, dust-covered bottles. And in the farthest corner, something sat, a small wooden chest. He took slow, careful steps toward it. The shadow did not move. The chest was old, worn, its lid slightly open, as if waiting. Jonas reached down, his hands trembling. He lifted the lid. Inside, a stack of letters, neatly tied with a faded red ribbon, and beneath them a photograph. Jonas picked it up, his breath catching. It was a picture of him, as a child, standing in this very basement, next to someone he did not recognize, someone who should not have been there. His hands tightened around the photograph. The shadow on the floor grew darker. Jonas wasn't sure if he had found something in the basement, or if something had found him. Jonas stared at the photograph, his breath shallow. The child in the picture, him, looked no older than 5 or 6. He wore a striped sweater he barely remembered, his small hands gripping the edge of a wooden table. But it was the person standing beside him that sent a chill through his spine. A tall figure, draped in shadow, their face blurred as if the camera had refused to capture it. The longer Jonas looked, the more the shape unsettled him. The figure's posture was unnatural, its presence wrong. His fingers trembled as he flipped the photograph over. A date was scrawled on the back in faded ink. October 12, 1998. He swallowed hard. That wasn't possible. That was the day his mother had taken him away from this house. Jonas had no memory of that morning, only that they had left in a hurry, his mother's grip tight on his wrist. When he had asked years later, she had only said, "We couldn't stay there anymore." Now, standing in the basement, holding a photograph of himself with someone who shouldn't exist, Jonas felt his past closing in on him. A sudden noise broke the silence. A whisper. Soft. Almost amused. Jonas spun around. The basement was empty. His heart pounded. The photograph felt heavy in his hands. The letters in the box, he needed to read them. Maybe they held answers. Maybe they explained why his mother had left, why she had never spoken about this place. He grabbed the first envelope, fingers untying the ribbon. The paper was brittle, the handwriting delicate but urgent. The words made his stomach drop. "Jonas, if you are reading this, it means you came back. I begged you not to. Please, whatever you do, do not listen to him." The basement light flickered. The whisper came again, closer this time. Jonas wasn't sure if it came from behind him or inside his own head. Jonas' breath hitched as his eyes darted over the letter. Do not listen to him. His pulse thundered. The air in the basement felt heavier now, thick like fog, pressing against his skin. He gripped the letter tighter, scanning the rest of the words. "I know you will not remember. That's how he works. But I remember Jonas. I remember what he did to you." The ink smudged where the writer, his mother, had pressed too hard. His hands shook. He flipped through more letters, opening them with frantic fingers. Each one held the same warning. He whispers. He waits. He always finds a way back in. Jonas felt his stomach twist. The whisper. He had heard it. He turned toward the basement stairs, ready to leave, when he saw it. A shadow, stretching long against the far wall. Not his. Jonas froze. His breath came in shallow gasps. The figure in the old photograph, the one standing beside his younger self, it was here. The whisper slithered through the room. Soft. Gentle. "Jonas, you remember me now, don't you?" His mind reeled. A sharp pain pulsed behind his eyes, as if something was pushing its way in. Images flooded his brain, his small hands gripping a table, his mother's voice pleading, "Don't look at him, Jonas." But he had, and he had forgotten. Jonas stumbled backward. The letters slipped from his hands, scattering across the floor. "You left me once." The voice coiled around him. "You won't leave again." The basement door slammed shut. Darkness swallowed him whole. Jonas clawed at the basement door, his nails scraping against the old wood. Locked. He turned, pressing his back against it, his breath ragged. The room had gone colder, the air thick with something he couldn't name. The whisper came again, curling through the dark like smoke. "You left me behind." His mind spun. Who had he left? He didn't remember. But the letters, his mother's desperate warnings. Do not listen to him. Jonas squeezed his eyes shut. He tried to focus. his childhood home, his mother's voice. That night long ago, when she had screamed at him to run. A memory cracked open. He was 6 years old, sitting at the kitchen table. His mother knelt in front of him, holding his face in her hands. Her eyes wide, terrified. "Jonas, listen to me. You must never speak to him, no matter what he says." A shadow loomed in the doorway behind her. His father. Except it wasn't. Jonas gasped. The truth hit him like ice. This thing, this whispering presence, it had been here before. It had worn his father's shape. And now it was back. The whisper grew stronger, pressing against his skull. "I never left, Jonas. You did." The shadows shifted. A shape moved toward him. Jonas' body stiffened. His mother's voice rang in his head. "Don't look at him." His breath came fast, uneven. His hands clenched into fists. "Not this time." Jonas squeezed his eyes shut and turned away. The whisper twisted, growing sharper, more desperate. "Jonas, look at me." He didn't. The air vibrated. The walls groaned. And then, silence. Jonas opened his eyes. The shadow was gone. The door creaked open behind him. He stumbled out of the basement, his body shaking. The house was empty. The letters lay scattered on the floor, as if no one had touched them in years. Jonas swallowed hard. He wasn't sure if he had one, or if it was just waiting. The dawn light barely reached through the curtains, casting long shadows over the house. Jonas stood at the window, staring out into the quiet street. The world seemed peaceful, unchanged, but something within him had shifted. The whisper was gone, but its presence lingered, like a stain, on his mind. He felt empty, not from fear, but from something deeper. Regret. He had left. He had fled years ago, not understanding what he was running from. It had been so easy, the lies, the promises, the assurance that if he just walked away, everything would be okay. But now, as he stood in the same room where it had all started, he realized the truth he had never wanted to face. The truth that nothing escapes unscarred. He had left his family, his home, to chase an illusion of safety. But all it had done was pull him further into the darkness. The whispers had followed him. The lies had wrapped around him, slowly, patiently, until they had taken root in his soul. Jonas turned from a window and walked to the table where the letters still lay, untouched. He picked one up, his hands trembling. There were no words now, only the weight of what had been lost. He could hear his mother's voice again, faint but clear. "You cannot undo what has been done, Jonas, but you can face it. You must face it." He stared at the letter, the one she had written years ago, the one warning him about the thing that had followed them. It was all clear now. The whispers, the shadows, the empty rooms. The past had come back to collect its debt. Jonas set the letter down and closed his eyes. He understood now. He wasn't alone. Not anymore. Not in this house. And with that understanding came a choice. He could leave. He could run again and let the darkness swallow him whole. Or he could stay. He could fight. Jonas took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the house, of the memories pressing down on him. He knew what he had to do. He had to break the cycle. He had to stop running. The reckoning had come, and he would face it.